Good day, hunters. It's Haz again with a follow-up video to yesterday's Sword and Shield Rathian hunt, and I'm bringing you a template for endgame Sword and Shield you can use with all elemental weapons for some good hunts. This build set is a template, meaning it's meant to be an easy and all-rounder build where all you have to do is change some minor jewels and your weapons and you're good to go hunting with different elements. Sword and Shield can have multiple playstyles depending on if you prefer bashing shield attacks for KO or you want to go with the new sword combos, and the skills put together allow for both playstyles at the same time instead of specializing on one. Because of this, keep in mind this is a powerful and strong build, but it's definitely not a meta build for fastest times or speedruns, but rather comfortable hunts for farming different monsters and for builds, or if you just prefer to play SnS sometimes without the whole multiple elemental sets investment. I'll go through this build in order of equipment, skills, decorations, and prefer the elemental weapons, so feel free to use the video chapters for the part you're interested in. There's also going to be gameplay demonstration in the form of a hunt at the end for those who would like to see the whole thing in action. Let's get into it. First, let's take a look at our equipment. This is an endgame build and will require you to beat the game first, as we are using the final boss chest piece. I'm going to show my skills and equipment first without any decorations and explain why they are chosen, and so you can see what kind of talismans and jewels you will need for this set. So our equipment is Malzeno Helm, Archfiend Armor, Bareth Vembraces, Sailor Skirt, and Ingot Greaves. For talisman, I'm using a 2-2 slot Bat talisman, so this build should be very easy to follow and replicate. With these items and no decorations, we have our base skill set up, that is Attack Boost level 4, Protective Polish 3, Firebug Whisperer 3, and Critical Eye and Weakness Exploit 2. Now the first valid question is, why are we not using specialized elemental skills in the base armor if it's an elemental set? And the answer is that this is a template build that's supposed to work for all playstyles, whether you're focusing on sword attacks or you want to use your shield, and for that, raw skills work better, while still allowing us to make use of Sunbreak's excellent elemental weapons. Protective Polish will support you if you decide to go for sharpness-heavy attacks with a sword, and Firebug Whisperer will also allow using more of your switch skills that are core to SnS playstyle. Now onto the skills and decorations. Seeing our skills without decorations, we gotta talk about what skills we have to bump up a bit. Fortunately, our equipment has decent amount of slots and we can fill up the missing pieces to get to Attack Boost 7, Critical Eye 4, Weakness Exploit 3, and preferably Critical Boost 3. And you will have enough minor jewel slots to slot in 4 elemental jewels of your choice. I said preferably Critical Boost 3, as with a decent enough talisman that should be more than possible, but if not, Critical Boost 2 is still fine, and you will see why. In case you're 100% sure you'd like to focus on sword attacks instead of shield attacks and go elemental, feel free to change my 3 attack boost jewels to critical element decorations. For the elemental weapons, Sword and Shield also has quite a few good choices, with some of them requiring more specialized builds, others performing well with a template such as this. So I will say my recommendations, but I will likely release another video similarly like my Dual Blades one talking about best elemental choices. For fire, I'm using the SnS sword with its 320 attack, 24 fire, and 20% affinity with a decent purple sharpness. With these stats, it's perfect sword to offset our template build, as it even complements having only critical boost 2 while still offering a decent elemental stat. For water, I'm currently using the dual scissors from the Daimyo and Shogun tree. While this is not the meta water sword and shield, it has very good stats for a template weapon with great decoration slots and is a much better sword for an easy to assemble build rather than going for a stronger but more decoration dependent weapon. But we'll discuss that option in another video. For ice, I love the Lunagaran sword and shield, or rather axe and shield. It looks amazing and the attack versus elemental damage ratio fits our hybrid skills set well. The Thunder Sword and Shield is the Estelos Rapier, and its pros are exactly the same as the SnS Sword, while having a bit more elemental damage, making this a really strong thunder weapon. And finally, the Dragon Element Sword and Shield is unsurprisingly the Gates of Heaven from Valstrax's tree. This sword is just straight up OP, whether you're hybrid or elemental focused. This sword is just way too good. As mentioned earlier, I'll go through more options for Sword and Shield in another video, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, these are the swords I use and recommend. But that is it for this template build set for Sword and Shield Endgame. I hope the video helped and you'll all enjoy hunting with these weapons. I personally have way too much fun with SnS too, and this set is very comfortable and relatively easy to build, so you can focus instead on grinding out your weapons. I also plan on releasing videos on more specialized sets for each element, as there is definitely room for min-maxing, and I would also like to experiment with some status builds. Finally, I also attached a quick hunt to demonstrate the gameplay and numbers using this set, so feel free to check it out. Thank you everyone for the incredible support. I'll be back with some more Monster Hunter videos. Until then, take care. Bye bye.